It's June, and that means it's time for Apple's WWDC. It's their annual event that actually, that's where the first iPhone was announced. But this conference, this event, is usually a software thing, and Apple has just recently, I just finished watching it, introduced so many new features, but a few stand out to me. And let's talk about FaceTime on Windows and Android. Of course, it's a good thing. Apple has finally decided to bring FaceTime to Android and Windows, but why? I think iPad sales has skyrocketed during this pandemic. It's been a year and a half now. I can't believe that's really what's happening. But yeah, it's been a year and a half, and iPad sales grew in popularity because, you have the kids studying from home, you have the adults working from home, and you have college students studying from home or doing some kind of hybrid learning. And yeah, they skyrocketed, and most of the communication, the video communication done on iOS devices is using FaceTime, and you can obviously use third parties like Zoom and others, but essentially, if you have an iPad, FaceTime can only be used in iOS devices, iOS ecosystem, and of course the Macs, and that's a disadvantage, maybe Apple saw, when it comes to other tablets and other devices. So, if FaceTime were to be supported in other platforms, now all of a sudden iPad is the do-it-all device, and FaceTime and Apple are powering this new world that we're living in. And that's great for iPad users, that's great for Windows users, and that's great for Android users. So the natural question is, why not iMessage? You're doing the video calling, why not do the messaging as well? And I find it very weird that in order for me to use my computer to send a message to my phone, I have to use a third party. There is no way for me to directly communicate between these devices. Same goes between iPhone and Android. You have to have an app like WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger, so you're basically Google made Android, Apple made the iPhone, but in order to communicate, you need to use Facebook's product, which is okay, I guess. But it's strange where they're introducing a new feature to these other platforms. Apple are introducing a new feature, but not the one that's most wanted, maybe. I think the distinction is, if you introduce iMessage, now you're making it very, very muddy in terms of why do I buy, for example, the iPhone SE, which is a cheap iPhone that does all the iPhone things for a cheaper price, and not an Android phone, which is the same price but has more features and now has iMessage. And obviously they introduced FaceTime, but it's still muddy how to use it. You have to use it using a browser, and it will only come if that update to iOS 15 comes along. And they have developed apps for Android before, and I don't know why they're not developing an app for this specific reason. They're making you go through the browser, but hey, it's happening. FaceTime on other platforms. And one thing they also announced is the Wallets app is getting a feature where you can store your ID cards and your home keys. And I hate carrying around things with me that I don't really need. And that's quite a late welcome. I thought this would happen years ago. If I'm walking to my house and there is some kind of smart reader thingy that reads my phone and lets me in, that's perfect. I don't have to carry governmental ID, no driver licenses, no nothing. And that would be the perfect world. You just carry your phone is your car key, your phone is your house key, your phone is... But what if you lose your phone? Let's not think about that for a minute. But it's a slow rollover. It's a slow thing. It will be in select states in the United States, and then it will slowly go from there to somewhere else. I always like digitalizing things. And there's one more thing. We said Apple develops apps for other platforms, and apparently they're working on an app to fix that issue with the AirTags, where a device, when you have an AirTag, the device that shows you where your lost items implanted on you, there is no way to tell if that AirTag is following you unless you hear the sound, the beeping sound that happens after a while, unless you have an iPhone. And now they're developing an app for Android that detects if an AirTag is near you, which is good news. But you see, sometimes when they're forced, they make an app for Android. Other times they make you go through the browser, and it's just Apple doing Apple things. But there are many features with iOS 15, but these are the ones that I particularly wanted to look at and talk about today. And that's the end of the video. And actually, that's the end of my academic year here in the UK. So the next video is going to be in a different setting. I hope you enjoyed this one, and stay safe and have a wonderful week.